everyone, Random here. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about geekdom and fandoms of geeky and nerdy things. Um, a lot of younger people today, I'm noticing, did not grow up with the same sort of ridicule we did when I was growing up in the 80s. I'm very, very old, by the way. I know I look a lot younger, but it just amazes me how many younger people, younger fans, jump on these bandwagons of really loving all of the things that, we grew up loving in the 80s and 70s and 60s and, all of these older, geeky, nerdy things. And they don't quite, it doesn't seem to me anyway, I mean, I could be absolutely 100% wrong on this. It doesn't feel to me like they actually understand what we went through with our nerdiness, with our fandoms, basically. When I was younger, a lot of us chose to, for lack of a better term, be in the closet about being a nerd. You were very ridiculed, you were very picked on and bullied, you were very much felt like you were an outcast, even though, for the most part, the nerds and the geeks were coming to debates with, and coming to school, and coming to life, and coming to the world with, for the most part, much higher IQs, much higher grades, much higher intelligence levels. And they were still bullied and picked on because back in my day, jocks, normal people, regular old trendy people just didn't accept us. We looked weird, we acted weird, we said a lot of weird things, and we were really, really shunned. And a lot of people, especially me, we hid the fact that we were nerds. I was absolutely a closet geek when I was a kid because I didn't think it was cool. I chose to project to the world and represent myself as this cool, tough metalhead chick who liked wrestling and, all the things I really, really liked when I was 11 years old. And that was very much okay. And I felt more confident by just saying, I liked Star Trek. Don't talk to me about Star Trek, though. Let's talk about heavy metal. Let's talk about something cooler. And nowadays, we find a lot of people who don't understand what that was like. And then, there's also the huge, there's a huge amount of people also who said, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna like the nerdy stuff whether you like it or not. And that's kind of where I came to the age of reason, right around 14 or so, and I'm like, you know what, I like Star Trek. I'm not gonna apologize for it. Screw you guys, I like this stuff. And that's perfectly okay. But my feelings towards this is that a lot of the younger people don't understand that we feel so protective of these things because we went through so much more than they seem to be going through. I'm trying to use my words very carefully and diplomatic here without just generalizing and just tearing into millennials, because that's not exactly what I really want to do, because I really want to try and see it from their perspective. But damn it, you guys don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what we went through. We went through being ridiculed. We went through getting shoved in lockers, heads in toilets, thrown into trash cans. We went through having stuff thrown at us because we liked geeky things. We went through getting beaten up after school because we liked geeky things. There's movies like 3 O'Clock High for a reason, where you have basically after school fighting. And that was such a thing in the 80s. And yeah, kids today don't know what we had to go through. And this is why we get so defensive of these things. This is why it's not just a movie to us or not just a TV show. This is something that we had to be picked on and defended by. And you know what? I'm gonna use my other experiences in the gay community. It's very similar. It's a very similar feeling to see nowadays people being so much more open and out of the closet with their own sexuality and stuff, and somebody like me who tries my best to not identify with that crowd, even though, yes, I've come on record and says, yes, I'm a bisexual woman. I don't discriminate on genders when it comes to the bedroom, right? The point is, it's a lot of similarities there with getting picked on and ridiculed and stuff, and a lot of the newer geeks don't seem to go through that, because everywhere you see, in every Target, in every Walmart, Spencer's, FYE, every store, Hot Topic, it's just the walls are filled with all these geeky things. It's such a normal thing now to like geeky things. And I feel like the franchises are suffering a lot more now that they're for everybody. I feel like the messages and the intensities and the writing is watered down so much because it's appealing to this crowd that it has never appealed to before. It's, something like Star Wars, for example. When I was a kid watching something like Star Wars, I was one of the few tomboys who liked Star Wars. Same thing with Star Trek. I was one of the few tomboys who liked Star Trek. I was a nerd. I was in gifted and talented classes. I liked nerdier things that typically male, nerdy, smart, nerdy kids liked. Nowadays, they're really, really trying to include everybody. They're trying to open up this demographic, but at the same time, with something like Star Wars, where they're just flat out saying, no, this isn't for you guys. You guys are just 40-year-old basement dwelling man babies. That is something that really, really pisses me off when they do that type of thing. So when we go at each other's throats on these things, it is because we really feel like our cultural heritage is being ripped away from us, and we're getting replaced by a younger, fresher model of people who are easier to manipulate because they're the masses. They're not this intelligent, specific crowd that these things were once for. And so much for me being diplomatic. I tried. I'm human. I'm gonna like show my own prejudices. Yeah, I think a lot of, for me personally, it really feels like the younger demographics coming in, to generalize, it's not every single one of them, obviously. I'm not saying that every single person under the age of 30 is dumb. I'm absolutely not saying that. Just, it really feels like they're dumbing this down for everybody. Same thing with the Marvel movies. Same thing with I'm watching Marvel movies. I don't care about Marvel. I don't care about comic books. I'm watching comic book channels. I don't care about comic books. The last comic book I bought was the EC horror reprints in 1991. Maybe 1990. I don't even remember what year it was. I was young though. That was the last time I bought comics. And the point is that these movies are now for everybody. The TV shows now are for everybody. And I think they're really, really suffering because of that. I really hate to use the term normies. They're letting the normies in and take over, and they're trying to appeal to that demographic. And yeah, that is kind of the thing. And we fight so hard to keep things like nerdy and intelligently written. And something like Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek used to be for people who would pick apart every single detail about every single thing that's wrong with something. Now you have giant plot holes big enough to fly a starship through. You have characters who don't represent what Star Trek is to me. And I see the same type of thing in like Star Wars. You have these very today characters of, oh well, it's a girl, so she's great. What? Why is she great? Well, she's a girl. Girls are better than guys. It's like, fuck you. What is wrong with you? Who says that? Who thinks that? I gotta calm myself down because I get really passionate about this, as we all do, because we care so much. This is personal to us. We are defending our heritage here, and this is why we get into it, and this is why it's ruining our franchises. This is why it's ruining our fandoms, because we're getting into it with people we normally would have so much in common with just because we disagree, or we don't want to offend them, or we don't want to hurt their feelings, because we would normally I hate doing this. We would normally be on their side. And as somebody who really sees that humans have evolved this as this tribal, we're very tribalistic. We needed it to survive back in the hunter-gatherer days when the group, if you had a good strong leader and a good strong group, you're going to survive the winter in your cave or whatever. We evolved to flock towards groups of like-minded, skinned, like gender, whatever. We evolved that way for a reason, because we feel like we have something in common. We feel protected. We feel part of the tribe, and it's not an issue of racism at all. But there are some great studies. I'm gonna go a little off topic here about back when they filmed the Planet of the Apes, all the extras, no matter what they were underneath the costumes, like a lot of the guys who were the gorillas sat at the gorilla table. The guys who were the orangutans sat at the orangutan table, and so on and so forth. And that is the same. I think the same thing happened on Babylon 5, if I'm not mistaken, where all of like the Minbari alien races would sit together, and all of the Narn would sit together, and all the and we do that as a species out of our basic instinct, and this is why we find stuff that we have in common and we kind of band together. It is how we evolved as a species. It has nothing to do with learned prejudices. It's something on our base evolutionary level. And in case anybody has questioned this, yes, I am very much a believer in evolution. You can't deny the evidence. I'm very much in that camp of very much agnostic, very much evolution, very much that. And I use the term agnostic because, well, that's a whole other topic. I'm going off topic here. My point is, we're passionate because we have this familiarity and we have this connection to these things. And once you start taking that away from us, we get very defensive and we get into these bickering wars. And this is part of why these assholes on Twitter start calling us man babies and start calling us this or that. And this is why we get so offended when somebody like Kathleen Kennedy wears a Forces Female t-shirt. This shit, this is the shit we need to evolve past. And if we can kind of recognize that and say, yes, this is why we do it, and try and be a little bit better about it. And even I'm probably the worst. I'm probably the worst hypocrite about it because I can still get into it with people as much as I don't want to. What do you guys think? What do you guys really think on the subject? Do you agree with me? Am I completely out of my mind here? Did you guys get bullied when you were younger? Are you of the younger crowd? Does bullying still take place? Am I completely wrong on this? Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. And thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe. I've got donation links. I go live sometimes. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!